Was in the suit was really, really great. He was a mime, and he knew how to emote out of the suit. When you're wearing suits, you have to overcompensate for your movements, because it's almost like half the movement outside the costume. And he did a really great job being this wooden Indian.
The Chief Woodenhead sequence. In that, there's not a tremendous number of gags. There's the heavyset guy holding the beer can. I remember we made a fake hand with a piston with the arrowhead on it so that he hit his arm and then on cue the arrowhead popped out. I think the Chief Woodenhead sequence, the effects are flawless.
No. Hey, you're not alive, man. You can't be alive.
I mean, I think the performer in the suit was great. I think the sculpture that Mike Tersick did was phenomenal.
It was just a really cool character. And that Indian was really great.
And then we had the raft segment.
Still here, kiddies? Well, if old Chief Woodenhead didn't drive you away, you might enjoy this next splintering tale. This bubbly bonbon is titled The Raft.
Yeah! I was actually not on set for Chief Woodenhead very much because I was in the shop working on the other stuff. And they said, well, you're going to make the blobs. And I said, oh, I am? Well, what are they supposed to... I mean, has anyone designed them? Do we know what they're supposed to look like? You go back to the original source material where it was this nebulous, vague description of this black oil slick that lived in a lake. This amorphous thing that you never really knew what it was. You just saw it as something floating in the water.
Come on.
So there was really never any understanding of what the creature was.
It's an oil slick.
Have you ever seen a perfectly round oil slick before?
There were no conceptual drawings.
Under Ed's supervision, we built what he felt needed to happen for the film.
We literally brushed latex on the floor of a big garage, and then I poured bits of polyfoam and foam in a spiral pattern and then embedded junk like soda cans and Bob's Big Boy pieces and all this stuff into it. And then Ed's job, who was sort of like art director, special effects, was to build the rigs that pulled the blob through the lake. So we start testing things, and all of a sudden, things weren't really working out as everybody had imagined.
I just remember Mike Gornick, who was the director, walking over to us and going, guys, what are we going to do to fix this? And Ed walked up and said, well, Michael, and Michael said, I don't want to hear from you. Howard, how are we going to fix this? And I went, in order to fix this is what we have to do.
And the next thing you know, Ed French is off the movie and flying back to New York, and Howard became the new boss. They gave him co-makeup effects credit.
But it should have been myself and Greg Nicotero, because Greg and I did the same amount of work, I felt.
And they turn to us and they say, okay, guys, we have to figure out what we're going to do.
And we finished it.
We're going to work now.
We built everything literally in a weekend. Everett Burrell, Mike Tersick, Greg, and myself, we rebuilt everything in a weekend. We didn't stop. And we were shooting Monday, and it worked out great. The big thing was that garbage bag monster.
And we did a couple different shapes, too. We did a round one, and then we did one that was sort of shaped like a comet.
These big, weird-looking shapes and forms, and ran a bunch of them in foam rubber and latex. And we ended up handing it over to, like, special effects and props, which was fine with us. They had it on a big PVC sort of floating device, and they would move it around, divers underneath and so forth.
The temperature of the lake was ice cold, freezing cold.
I hate water. I just hated being out there, but I did it. I just put it out of my mind. I'm on a soundstage. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Out there working in the water and stuff. Ugh. We were shooting 6-day weeks. So, I mean, it was tough.
And, you know, by then it was October in Arizona, and it started getting cold.
And here we are at the annual Monopoly game.
I remember days when it just poured rain, and we sat in Paige Hannah's trailer playing Monopoly for hours and hours at a time because there was literally nothing to do.
Look at this money. This is how much over budget Creepshow 2 it is. Yeah.
And there was a lot of talk about, oh, well, you know, we're over schedule and we're over budget. What are we going to do?
Hi, Michael.
Mike was under a lot of pressure. Not a lot of people had Mike's back. He really looked towards Greg and myself as a comfort and as an ally.
He would come to me and say, you know, I don't really feel like I have very many allies on this movie, but I know that you're one of them.
And anytime a situation came up, he came to us. It's like, Howard, I need you to just deal with it. I know it's not your department. Can you figure out how to do it? Yeah, absolutely. We can do it this way, this way, this way. It's done. Don't worry about it. We'll make it happen. Don't worry about anything. He's just a really great guy.
My experiences with Michael Gornick were nothing but great, and I think that he did a really good job with the cards that he was dealt.
It looked like it was going after the girls.
We were responsible for creating what the creature could do to somebody. One of the toughest gags for the actors was when Paige Hannah gets attacked. She's swirling her finger in the water, and it leaps up her arm.
Get away from there, Rachel! Don't!
And we did a lot of reverse stuff where we had air mortars filled with black methocel and ultra slime.
Ultra slime has like this resin that makes it real sinewy. And it looks cool, but it's virtually impossible to get off. Like, you have to use bleach and scrub, because there's just something that bonds to everything, and you're just like, it drives you crazy.
So we would fill an air mortar, and it would shoot this big black booger snot thing at you. And we had hot melt vinyl gloves that a puppeteer would wear that would shoot out of the water and grab onto somebody. She's reaching up, and you can see the webbing of the ultra slime. So then she gets pulled into the water. As soon as she's in the water, Patty Tallman doubled her. That shot where she's kind of cloaked in the black stuff and it's oozing, that's the stunt double, Patty Tallman, covered in slime. And poor Patty, you know. I mean, the slime was everywhere. It was not a good experience. We started experimenting with taking the raft, putting it up on blocks, and then building troughs filled with black methocel. And that way we were able to squeeze the troughs underneath the raft, and the black stuff would ooze up and then ooze back down, and then ooze up and ooze back down. So we were making gallon after gallon after gallon of black methocel and gallon after gallon after gallon of black ultra slime. We were in the shop dicking around with that stuff and when Howard and Mike were on set.
I was running out of slime, and I remember I was like, oh, man, we're